preparing a timetable. What is required of you to make a timetable? Have to follow the timetable that you created regularly and effectively. So what is a timetable that a topper follows? I'll give you a model timetable. Remember, it's just model, you'll have to follow yours. So what are my learnings while I made a timetable for myself? The long-term goal for you will be clearing this exam, and that is exactly what a timetable will help you with. Once you have a timetable, your body and mind is well prepared, and you will wait for a best plan and then implement it for tomorrow. Good day guys, welcome to UPSC CSE Decoded. So this is the continuation video of the last video. If you have not watched the previous video, I'll place the link in the description. Please check it out. So let's get into this video. What are the points to keep in mind while preparing a timetable for yourself? First point is you'll have to prepare your own timetable. Do not try to imitate anybody else because it may not work for you. Creating one for yourself will help you out. Create a timetable based on your strength and weakness. Say for example, if you're strong in economics, then you may need less time comparatively to environment which you may be weaker. So forming a timetable based on your strength and weakness will help you to cope up equally with all subjects. Formulate a timetable based on your daily commitments because everybody have the same 24 hours with us, but that 24 hours, how many hours each one can utilize properly differs from person to person. So construct a timetable based on your daily commitments. Create a timetable that you can sustain for a long term. Make sure your timetable, it's not, it should be practically feasible to work on it. It cannot be either too hard for one to follow or too lenient for one to drop it. The timetable should be practically workable. What I mean here is, say for example, you cannot formulate a timetable in which you say you will complete the entire polity in just 3 days or 4 days. It's not practically possible. And say for example, you cannot have a timetable where you have Indian national movement alone for around 35 days to 40 days. Timetable which is practically workable. Many of us make the mistake of formulating a separate timetable for mains and prelims. Integrate preparation for both together and form a timetable in common for both. Since prelims is approaching, many of us will make a mistake to focus only on prelims. Prelims is important, but prelims is just a qualifier. You need to just qualify prelims, but mains you need to top it in order to get into your desired service. So keep that in mind. Formulate a timetable based on the interest on subjects. If you have good interest in art and culture, then it means you will need less time to study for it. If you have an aversion towards geography, then it means you'll need more time to cover the topics. So form a timetable based on all those criterias. Do not sit with a single subject for the whole day. You can divide the day into sessions, probably 3 or 4 sessions, each session consisting of 3 hours maximum, so you can have an effective study of say 2.5 hours. Dedicate the active part of the day for studying the difficult topics or important topics or the topics that you do not find interest in. Dull part of the day allocated to dynamic subjects or value addition such as RSTV, PIB, etc. Have a strict timetable, but also remember to include buffer days in your timetable. So if you have some incomplete work, you can complete them in buffer days. Try to have different subjects in different sessions and on different days. So you cannot sit with a single subject for a whole day or multiple days together. It may get boring and it may become monotonous. In order to break the monotonous nature, you can read different subjects in different sessions and different days. So also include regular breaks in your timetable, be it a single day or be it for a week or be it for a month. You need to have regular breaks in order to come back stronger with more focus, because reading continuously may not be effective. Once you formulate a timetable, do not keep changing it every now and then. Try to follow it for at least 3 to 4 months. You can have a standard session in a day for optional. So Optional is make or break the list. You could have heard me saying this in every other video because that is the truth. So it is important you give the utmost importance to your optional. So reading it daily will help you to master your optionals. Allocate time for revision also. Just reading and rereading will not help. You'll have to read and revise in order to keep whatever you have learned in your memory. Try and formulate a detailed timetable for the day, for the week, for the month, and at last for the year as well. If possible, try and get guidance from people who have cleared this exam and seniors who are into this preparation. Pareto principle says you give 20% efforts and take 80% of output, that is the results. So that should be your strategy to use different study techniques for various topics such as SQ6R, Feynman, etc. I'll come up with a separate video what these study techniques are. Remember, a timetable differs from person to person. Once you have made your timetable, do not try to compare it with others because it may break your confidence, or you may keep changing your timetable every now and then, and it practically becomes impossible to follow something which you keep changing every now and then. So in the initial days of your preparation, you can slightly follow a easier version of your timetable and gradually increase the workload for yourself. Understand the requirement of the exam and formulate a timetable based on that. So what is required of you to formulate a timetable is you need to be honest in following the timetable. Disciplined approach, that is day in and day out you continue with the same process. Dedication towards your goal. Perseverance, no matter what you continue doing what you do so that you can clear this exam. Focus and concentration while you're studying, and of course seriousness to clear this exam. So how to follow the timetable that you formulated effectively? It is always easy to make one timetable, but following it becomes the most difficult part. Price your timetable as short-term goals, say daily, weekly targets, and medium-term goals, say 2 to 3 months together, and long-term goals, which is revision, wherein you test yourself based on what you have read on that day, on that week, or in that month. While sitting and studying, avoid longer sessions. Your sessions can maximum be of 3 hours. If you have more than 3 hours sessions, it becomes slightly difficult to concentrate more than 3 hours. Give yourself time for extracurriculars and your hobbies. Do the SWOT analysis, that is your strength weakness analysis. You know your timetable is working or not only when you revise and when you take some tests. And in the initial days you cannot do it, and that is why I said you need to follow it at least for 2 to 3 months. Not emphasize too much on the quantity of how many hours you study or how many days you have put in for each subject, etc. Just try to focus on the quality of what you have studied, how much you can retain of how much you have learned. So duration you sit with the book is not equal to the effective study time. You may be sitting with the book for say at least 5 hours in a day. You would have effectively read for just 2 hours. So do not take it into mind that I have studied for 5 hours today. It is not that you have sat with the book for 5 hours, but you have effectively read only for 2 hours. What is an ideal topper's timetable? In the previous video, in the part 1 video, we would have discussed does a perfect timetable exist. So I will connect that with this. A topper's timetable. Anybody who have cleared this exam becomes a topper. And if you see their timetable, they would have formulated one for themselves without copying from their toppers. Today you may be an aspirant, tomorrow you may clear this exam, and the timetable you formulated for yourself becomes a topper's timetable. What is the criteria for a timetable to become a topper's timetable? The first criteria is the person clearing the exam. Now, how does the person clear the exam? They will be consistent in following the timetable they have prepared for themselves. Give equal importance to all subjects. Their days will be scheduled into proper sessions and they will utilize those sessions to the maximum benefit. They'll give importance to revision, have a smart study approach rather than sitting and cramming with the book. They would have known what is the crux of this exam and they know how to approach this exam. Remember, this is just a model study timetable. This is to help you to get the overview how to go about framing one timetable for yourself. Do not adapt this for yourself. Try and make one for yourself. In a day, you can have 45 minutes to 1 hour newspaper, and if you are a beginner, then obviously it will take say 2 hours or more than 2 hours. Do not worry about it. Just be consistent in reading the newspaper, and maybe after a couple of months you will see that 2 hours would have been reduced to 1 hour actually. So do not worry if you're a beginner and you're taking say 2 hours, 3 hours to read the newspaper. Just stay focused and persistent and read the newspapers daily. Eventually the time does comes down. 2 hours for revision of the previous day you learned in the previous day, you can revise that. 2 hours you can study something newly, GS optional or whatever. And then 2 hours if you have any household chores, you can do that. You can have time for your own relaxation. Earlier 2 hours for optional or any other subject. 2 hours you can utilize for writing answers. Initially, maybe if you are in the first or second month of your preparation, do not write answers initially. Create a base and then start writing answers. If you are in that stage, then allocate some time to write answers daily, and gather all the current affairs in one place at that time, because writing answers daily will help you to get a better rank in the final list, because you need to top mains in order to clear this exam and in order to get your desired service. So in this process of preparation, do not get lost. Keep in mind to have breakfast, lunch, dinner on the correct time. Equal importance to proper amount of sleep. You will need minimum 6 hours of sleep, and based on your health condition, it may vary from person to person. Some time for physical activity or sports so that your body and mind gets refreshed every now and then. Use your weekends wisely. You can, if you're a beginner, you can use the weekends entirely for revisions. If you are 3 to 4 months into your preparation, then you can combine revisions and take tests simultaneously in the weekends. Morning sessions, try to allocate tough subjects because you wake up and you're fresh, so you can grasp many things. So tough subjects you can have in the morning session. Noon session, which is generally after lunch, we may be slightly we may feel sleepy. That time you can have dynamic subjects such as current affairs. Then evening session you can have for a small revision what you read from the morning, and the night session you can use for value addition or optional, whichever suits you best. Not get disheartened if you have an off day. Every person, even the rank 1 holder, have had a bad day. It is how you cope up and come back matters. Add or reduce hours of study according to your commitments. As I said earlier, this is just model, so you can add or reduce the hours of study based on your commitments. So what are my learnings from the past mistakes? In the initial days of my preparation, I did not have a timetable at all, so I will sit with the book based on my mood, and every time it will be polity, because deep in my mind I have always felt polity is one subject which I know nothing. So every time I start fresh, I'll take the quality book, sit with it, read it for 2 hours, feel bored, close the book, and I'll quit for that day. So mood based preparation will not work. And then I tried to copy some other people's timetable, my friends, seniors, toppers, etc. It did not work. So no one size fit all approach will work here. What usually you can do is, in the earlier days you read less and towards the exam you read more, but what I did was vice versa. For example, I started my preparation in the month of May. May would have been the ultimate productive month of my preparation. June it gradually comes down, and then July I rarely touch the book. Do not do that mistake. Then your smartphone is not a stress buster. I used to think I'll just hear one song, just see social media for 10 minutes, and that 10 minutes is never ending, that one song is never ending. So do not use your smartphone as a stress buster. Sorry for the mistake. The word here, rising early, helps. So if you're a night owl, no problem, but if you can rise early in the morning, it helps you. And once I have formulated a timetable for myself, I used to keep doubting myself. Is this okay? Is this timetable enough for myself to clear this exam? Rather than I should have actually focused on studying what I, even if it is less, I should have focused on studying what I have decided to study for the day. But I take the book and I start worrying, I start doubting myself, will this be enough? Will this be enough? Will this be enough? Had I read, it would have been enough. But I wasted the time doubting myself. Do not do that. And then once you take a break, be conscious enough to return back to study, because breaks are never ending. In a day, if you take a session for a break and you're not conscious enough to return, the entire day may go in vain. And that day may continue for day after day after day. And then finally, when you decide to come back, you may see you would have not touched the book for 10 to 15 days. This will not at all help you. So do not overdo with your breaks. And the next thing is, I used to keep worrying, comparing myself with my fellow friends who are preparing for this exam, thinking that they can read fast, they have completed so much syllabus, so much in such subjects, but I'm here just with the first chapter since 10 days. Remember that hare and the tortoise race, slow and steady wins. The ultimate goal is to clear the exam. You are your own competitor. You do not compete with others. Compete with yourself and slowly show your progress. You need to show progress. You cannot stand in a place. But keep, even if you're going slowly, it does not matter. But make sure you're going. Finally, just a random thought of words. Enjoy the process. Time is scarce. Budget it wisely, because C is a marathon, as I said earlier. You may not have the same strength, same support, the same resources with what you started the marathon throughout the marathon. It may get weakened year after year, day after day. So time is scarce, budget it wisely. Plan your work and work your plan. Remember, Rome was not built in a day. So you clearing this exam, you cannot do it overnight as we did in our college degrees or in school exams. It's not working. You need to put in your effort right from day one. So I thought I'll add this poem by Robert Frost, and many of us would be aware of that. So the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So remember this, have a targeted approach and conquer this exam. Thank you for watching the video. If you find this video useful, like, share, comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching the video.